Hi, I'm Peter Capaldi. I play the Doctor, and you're watching EMS Productions.
Hello everybody, and welcome along to today's video, where today I'm going to be reviewing the final part of the Monk trilogy. It's The Lie of the Land. Now, I don't really enjoy giving negative reviews for Doctor Who episodes. I always try to find the best in the episodes. I'm a really kind of positive person towards the show generally. Always, very few episodes I really sort of dislike and kind of give real poor reviews to, but unfortunately I'm going to have to give a fairly negative review for this episode today, just because I have quite a few problems with this episode, how it resolved this trilogy of episodes. It all just didn't work for me. The episode started off well, right at the very beginning, with the pre-title sequence where we see this whole kind of monks have changed history, how the whole world and all of history has got the monks in them kind of thing, and then this whole sort of scene setting with Bill at the start, and the sort of world where it's completely under control by the monks and everybody believes the monks have been there forever and everything, complete sort of mind control. A bit of a vibe of sort of Last of the Time Lords kind of vibe. Certainly it's what we saw from the trailer and in those first few minutes as well. It kind of just had that kind of feel to it. And certainly at this point, the episode was going quite well. It was quite interesting to see this kind of completely sort of controlled world now that we have after these monks are completely taken over. But once things started to develop a bit more and we headed to this boat where the monk sort of headquarters is and where the Doctor was, this is where it started to kind of go awry a bit. I mean, this scene, it's obviously been quite a lot talked about, this whole scene with Bill and the Doctor basically arguing against each other and then obviously ending up with Bill shooting the Doctor. It just didn't quite work for me. I mean, I'm going to say the performances were fantastic. Both Peter and Pearl did an absolutely brilliant job in that scene to kind of bring those lines to life and everything. And it was quite interesting, kind of the Doctor's side, obviously he was trying to trick Bill, but his side about how, kind of the truth, telling the truth really, about how humanity's made so many mistakes, so much history from the past, and yet they still make the same mistakes and all this kind of thing. And you could almost kind of believe that what the Doctor was saying, which is clearly the idea, but it did feel like you could almost believe what the Doctor was saying and that he had actually joined the monks. But obviously Bill was having none of it. And so this part of the scene was alright, I felt. Kind of the dialogue did kind of make sense, but then it got a bit excessive when the Doctor basically goaded Bill into shooting him, which just felt a bit too much. Then obviously that regeneration scene, what a sort of disappointment of what it could have been. I mean, it was so blatantly, now you watch it back, that was just put in this episode so they could use it in a trailer and build up the hype pre-season. It did not need to be there. It served no purpose, no benefit, because the whole thing was the Doctor trying to trick Bill sort of into thinking that the Doctor's on the bad side and everything. And so, but why does he need to go to fake regenerating when Bill doesn't even know what regeneration is? There was no benefit to the Doctor's performance to start off of blooming regeneration. It was just completely pointless. It was clearly somebody at some stage thought, oh, this is a perfect opportunity for us to put a regeneration in, do a fake one, and then we can chuck it in the trailers and it'll be amazing and build the hype massively. I mean, and it did work, let's be honest. Pre-season, those shots of the 12th Doctor with his sort of hand holding up with the regeneration energy all over it did build up some serious hype and also nerves about the Doctor actually regenerating, but it did work. But in this episode it just felt like such a cheat, such a complete waste. You can even see that the one in the trailer, they put a lot more regeneration energy on him and kind of jazzed up the scene a little bit just to make it look a little bit more over the top than it actually is in this episode, where it's certainly a little bit more of a sort of kind of tame regeneration attempt, I guess, and obviously the Doctor just faked it all, pulled it all off, and it just kind of annoyed me that they kind of went that far and it was just a complete fake out. My video I did with all my theories on it, it's got like 13,000 views, and loads of you, thank you for that guys, and loads of you guys are just saying, all my theories are much better than what actually happened, and that is true. Everybody's theories are so much better than what they actually did. It just didn't fit, as far as I'm concerned. But there we go, they decided to go down that route of a fake regeneration. From a personal point of view, I'd love it if that happened at Christmas and the Doctor didn't actually regenerate, seeing as I love the 12th Doctor, but somehow, sadly, that's not going to happen. And we are going to say goodbye to Peter Capaldi in a few episodes' time, but not just yet. Now next we get onto this little sequence with Missy, which I like the dialogue between the Doctor and Missy. I mean, Missy's brilliant. Their sort of confrontations, her and the Doctor, them just kind of chatting away trying to work out what to do, it's brilliant. I love that kind of dialogue and sort of chemistry they've got between the two of them. But to some degree it felt like, did we actually need that scene in there? Because the Doctor's clever enough to work things out on his own, how often does he go and ask someone else for help? Never, basically. I mean, yes, Missy was there, but it just kind of felt like, did we really need... Yes, it was obviously good, chat Missy in another episode, all this kind of thing, but did it actually need to have it to sort of progress the episode? Maybe this will have more relevance for the kind of future episodes with the whole seemingly storyline of Missy turning good, but she probably won't be, but at least seemingly turning good, which was a little bit featured in this scene, and obviously more seriously at the end, scene at the end of the episode, which kind of was another clearly just meant for the arc of the series or the rest of the series rather than for this episode. So maybe that was why they included it a little bit more, but as much as I love some of the lines they had in there, it did to some degree feel like, why do we really need to have this scene? So past that, we passed through a nice few minutes of the Doctor kind of setting up his saving of the day with all the headphones and everything, and that was cool. That was really nicely sort of filmed and shot sequence, I thought, when all those soldiers are walking inside the pyramid with those sort of headphones on, and Bill's dialogue on it as well. Just the whole sound editing was really effective, and I think some of the direction was really good. And I mean, throughout this episode, I think that was one of the strengths, was the direction of this episode. Directed by Wayne Yip, I think his name was, who directed a couple of episodes of Class last season, or last year even. And it was nice to see him come back and do it properly in Doctor Who, and I think he has a very sort of interesting directing style, which really kind of came across in this episode, and certainly was one of the highlights of the story. But of course, the other main thing I've got to talk about is the conclusion, the resolution of this episode, of this trilogy. It wasn't great. Let's be honest. It was not great. It was a cliched, classic, love saves the day, Bill's love of her mum, the creation that she's created of her mum saves the day, all this kind of thing. It's just like so many times before we've had it. It feels cliched. It just felt like such an underwhelming conclusion to 3 weeks of a story. Since pretty much since the end of Oxygen and the Doctor becomes blind. Really, this sort of story arc has been carrying through with the whole monks and everything for like 3 episodes, and it concludes in a couple of minutes with Bill putting her hands on some dead old monk, thinking about her mum and saving the day. It just didn't work for me. I know some people do like that kind of resolution, and in some situations it can work, but it just felt like with the amount of build-up we had through these 3 episodes, to kind of finish it all off like that so quickly, just done, it just didn't work for me. And I mean, through this 3-parter, it just feels like the monks haven't been well enough developed as characters as well. Particularly in this episode, we didn't have a single line of dialogue from a monk in this whole episode. I don't know why suddenly they seem to take the back seats. They were just kind of in control, but no one actually sees them or they do anything. And why didn't they turn up at the end when Bill was about to kind of take control or save the day? Why didn't they suddenly turn up and try and stop her or something? Why was that not happening when seemingly the monks are all powerful, all seeing, all knowing, they know everything? It just didn't work out for a conclusion for me, I'm going to be honest. But again, this ending kind of drew parallels to the Time Lords, where all the world had to think about the Doctor and think about sort of bringing him back, whereas now in this episode it was Bill thinking about her mum and saving the day through that. It was sort of another parallel there, but just surely they could have found a better ending than the whole love saves the day thing again, which just, as I say, they've just done too often. But there we go, guys. Sorry to be a bit of a downer of this review. This episode just didn't quite work for me. I mean, I was really hyped and really excited about this episode with the whole fake regeneration thing coming, the whole big conclusion to the Monk trilogy, how are they going to save the day, solve it all, the world being taken over and all this. And it just felt really underwhelming in the end, watching it back. It just was a really disappointing conclusion to this trilogy, I thought, and it's why I can't help but be a bit negative in my review. But there we go, guys. Bill saved the day even. Everything's back to normal. The world is back to normal. The Doctor's got his eyesight back. Everything's back as it was at the beginning of episode 5. And we move on from here to the last few episodes. Now I'm going to be honest here, slightly probably controversial comment, that as much as I have enjoyed Series 10 so far, I still personally prefer Series 9 so far through the series to Series 10. The finale will be what decides this series for me, I think, because it isn't a lot down on Series 9, it's very close, just I slightly prefer Series 9 at the moment for the Doctor-Clara relationship, a lot of the 2-part stories, the brilliant sort of finale episode as well, and the opener. Lots of brilliant stories throughout that, and the 12th Doctor being brilliant as usual. Whereas this series, it's sort of been, I feel, almost solid but unspectacular. There was not really anything you'd call an absolute classic. I think Extremis is probably, or Oxygen are probably the closest 2 episodes to an outright classic episode. Whereas in sort of Series 9 we had Heaven Sent, we had the Saigon speech at the end, or the speech at the end of Saigon Inversion. Even the opening two-parter was phenomenal as well. They just felt like there's a lot more brilliant episodes than what we've seen in this series so far. And so for me personally, I'm still edging towards Series 9. But the finale could turn that for me. We'll just have to see how good it is. But there you go, guys. Sorry to be a bit of a downer for this video. I just didn't really enjoy The Lie of the Land very much. If you did enjoy it a bit more in the comments below, do let me know. Let me know your thoughts, why you enjoyed it, and I'll read them through, have a discussion with you guys, see if we can bring me to a more positive point on this episode. But overall, watching it a couple of times, it just wasn't the greatest for me, guys. But there we go. So guys, remember to like the video, subscribe if you're new here, and I'll see you again very soon for another video. Goodbye.